All right, today we're going to get right into it and unlock the difference between two really powerful creative forces, two things that shape pretty much everything we love, from poetry to blockbuster movies. We're talking about fancy versus imagination.
So, let's kick things off with a question. What's the real difference between, say, a super catchy ad jingle that gets stuck in your head for a day and a profound poem that sticks with you for a lifetime? Is it just about skill, or is there something, deeper going on? Well, the answer, according to centuries of thinkers and artists, lies in two totally different ways the creative mind can work. It all comes down to this big historical showdown: fancy versus imagination. So on one side, you've got fancy. Think of it like a skilled artisan who is just brilliant at arranging beautiful little pieces that already exist. But on the other side, you have imagination, and that's the visionary creator, the one who forges something brand new out of raw, basic materials.
Okay, let's dive into this. And we're going to start with the original champion in this whole debate, fancy. Because for a really long time, this was seen as the absolute peak of creative ability.
So what is fancy exactly? Well, a great way to think about it is like a master DJ. The DJ isn't creating new instruments or new sounds from scratch, right? But they are masterfully arranging and combining tracks that already exist to create something that feels new and, honestly, is often really delightful. It works with memory and what's already there.
And this slide really gets to the heart of what it's all about. At its core, fancy is combinatory. It's about linking things that already exist. It's also decorative, meaning it's focused on that surface-level appeal, not necessarily deep meaning. This whole process is very conscious and controlled, and the effect it creates is often lighthearted and ephemeral. It's charming, but it might not last. So, here's the crucial takeaway. Fancy is all about brilliant craftsmanship. It's about wit, charm, and creating these really pleasing, intricate patterns from things that are already in the world. It's like making a beautiful mosaic, but it's not about creating the tiles themselves.
But then, a new contender storms into the ring. A deeper, way more powerful force that completely redefined what we think of when we say the word genius. And that, of course, is imagination.
See, unlike fancy, which just rearranges things, imagination is like a furnace. It takes all the raw materials, experience, emotion, pure thought, and it melts them all down together to forge something completely new and profound. It's not just combining, it's synthesizing. And its power lies in this idea of synthesis, creating a new whole that is so much greater than the sum of its parts. It's transformative. It can actually change the way we see reality. It's also deeply emotionally integrated, so it connects with us on a much deeper level. And finally, it often feels spontaneous and visionary, like it's delivering these big insights that come from somewhere almost subconscious.
Now, seeing them side by side like this, man, it just makes it all click. The distinction is so clear. Fancy is mechanical and decorative. It's designed for wit and these pleasing but often temporary effects. But imagination, that's creative and transformative. It's aiming for something profound, something universal, with an impact that is deep and truly lasts.
This shift from valuing fancy to celebrating imagination, it wasn't some slow, gradual change. It was a full-blown revolution in how people thought about art. For centuries, fancy's order and wit were king. But then, everything was about to change. And this timeline just shows that historical showdown perfectly. After this long era where cleverness and wit were prized above all else, the Romantics came along and just completely flipped the script. They declared that imagination was the supreme creative power, the very source of all genius. And a leader of this revolution was the poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge. He's the one who really drew this line in the sand, arguing that true artistic genius wasn't just about being clever. He said it was a moral and creative power that came directly from imagination, and that fancy was just a much lesser, more mechanical tool in the toolbox.
Coleridge even took it a step further and split imagination into two different types. So think of it this way. Primary imagination is the unconscious magic our brains do every single second just to make sense of the world. Turning light and sound into a reality we can understand. But the secondary imagination, that's the artist's conscious power to take that reality, dissolve it, and reshape it into something new and meaningful, like a great painting or a powerful poem. So why should we care about this 200-year-old literary debate?
Well, because it's not just about old poetry. It gives us a really practical toolkit for analyzing all kinds of creativity that we see in the world right now. You can use these 3 steps to spot the difference in everything you consume. Next time you're watching a movie or reading a book, ask yourself, is this just cleverly rearranging familiar ideas, which would be fancy, or is it synthesizing something that feels fundamentally new and insightful? That's imagination. Let's make this even more concrete. In a movie, fancy is what gives us the witty one-liners and the clever little plot twists. But imagination, that's what builds the entire world of Middle-earth, or gives us the complex, fascinating morality of a show like Breaking Bad. Fancy decorates the story, imagination is the story's soul.
And that brings us to our final thought. Today, we live in a world that is just dominated by remixes, by samples, by AI that are absolute masters of recombination. They are essentially engines of fancy. So the question for us is, in an age that has perfected clever combination, what is the true value of deep, transformative, and truly original imagination?